Hi, this is Ed again on my YouTube channel, Atheist, a Bird with No Cage. And today I want to talk about something a little different. I think it's pretty much divorced from the idea of atheism, religion, that sort of thing. But I've had this kind of repeating experience in my life of being, I refer to as being a late bloomer. So I'm going to kind of try to tell you what I mean and go through examples of that, not necessarily in chronological order, but as much as I can do that. And by the way, I know I'm doing this irritating thing of kind of chewing my teeth, the old guy thing, and I apologize for that. Anyway, the first thing that I came to late in life, I bloomed into lately, was playing ball. I became a fastball player, a pitcher, starting when I was 20, the year that I turned 20. First time I ever played ball in my life. Now, I think that's kind of a late bloomer thing, simply because most kids do the sandlot thing and come up through Pee-wee, Little League, that kind of thing. And most of the guys I knew that played ball, that's the way it happened. So there was that. And I played ball from the time I was 20 until I was 50. So it wasn't an in and out job by any means. It lasted some time. Okay, the next thing that comes to mind is another kind of athletic thing. I'm not claiming I was a great athlete, but I became a road runner. And, I first I became a runner, of course, and then I kind of heard about this thing. I remember I was about 35 when I was running. Got to know other runners, and they started to tell me about these things called marathons. And I remember a conversation with one guy, what the hell is a marathon? Marathon's this 26-mile run race that they do. And so I go, oh, so you have to qualify for that or something? No, you just go and pay your $8 or $10 and get out there, and the gun goes off and you do it. So I did that and got hugely into running through my 30s, and I guess I did it till I was in my late 50s, and came to Mexico and then got sidetracked. Okay, what else? I went to university as a 40-year-old. So that's a pretty mature student, and I spent, I guess the best part of 8 years at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. I did an undergrad degree and then a master's degree that I finished all the coursework and everything. I left unfinished because I didn't do the thesis that was required to get the diploma and all that. So I kind of claim to have a master's in philosophy is what I studied, when I don't really. So if you catch me claiming to have a master's in philosophy, you know I'm lying. Okay, so what else did I do?
Music.
Music. Music. Yeah, with the music, it wasn't so much that I started really late, because I think I was in my 20s when I first got the idea of playing the guitar, and got a guitar and started to learn. And when I still lived in Canada, in Ontario, I'd do jam sessions with friends, and I learned to play a fair bit of, music. I kind of went a weird direction at that too, because I started out learning to play sort of jazz standards, what I call, refer to as Frank, what's Frank's name?
Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra kind of music. And anyway, that went very slowly for the first bunch of years, about till the time that I met Glenn and we became an item. We moved to Mexico. Then I really ramped it up and ended up playing in a bar as a solo singer guitarist for about 4 years, from 2010
22.
to 2015, something like that. Then I had hip surgery and stopped that. Well, the hip surgery is not part of the the late bloomer story. Okay, so another thing I did was learn to speak Spanish. We moved to Mexico when I was 56, and so that's 15, no, it's 23 years ago now. And now I speak, I speak pretty good Spanish, passable Spanish. The trick is to sometimes understand totally what's going on. Glenn's kind of the expert at that. Okay, so that was late in life that I learned, really get into learning another language. Then, when I was 60, I had kind of a late life experience, I guess you call it. It started at a party. And I have told this story on other videos, but at this party here in Mexico where I live, one woman suggested that we could have a conversation starter, and the question was, do you believe in God? And, like everybody else, I had a couple of beers in me, and probably smoked a joint or two. So I went into this song and dance about, well, depends on what you mean by God, if you think maybe God is everything, well, I believe in everything, or God is or one of those things. And so that experience was interesting and started me on a little journey of investigating that I mentioned before. A lot of it was the beginning especially revolved around a site on the internet that's still there, by the way, and it's called God is Imaginary. I remember seeing that and thinking, well, my first thoughts were, holy cow, you can actually say that, and nothing happens? Because I didn't have any belief in any God, but I certainly wouldn't ever call God down. So that was a late life experience, and I call it's blooming. For me, it's blooming because it was life-changing for me in an intellectual way, absolutely a different world. And the one other thing is, have I missed anything until I get to
YouTube channel?
Hey?
What about working in an engineering office?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. I worked at,
Teaching
here.
English as a second language. Teaching English as a second language.
Yeah, I did a lot of that here in Mexico, which started, from the time I was 56, 96 we arrived here. So I already was a teacher, I had teaching experience. I went to Teachers College in 1968.
You did that late too.
So that was kind of late. I became a teacher, taught for a few years and did other things. Okay. But the kind of cap on this idea of being a late bloomer is, well, the combination of outing myself as an atheist. Yeah, I didn't complete that. From that site, reading Bible stories and listening to discussions and debates and so on, at the age of right around 60, maybe 2001 or 2002. No, before that. I just got to the point that one day I said, hey, I'm an atheist. And I had never said that before. I think, it was in my mind that I didn't really believe or anything. But one of the unique things about that was using the term atheist, because that's got a lot of baggage, and I really like using it. Here I am doing atheist, a bird with no cage. I like using the term because, especially when I see the way it raises Christians' hackles, you get going, that means you worship the devil. No, I don't worship the devil. I don't believe in that either. That was part of my becoming an atheist, throwing silly ideas like the devil and gods and whatever, all of them out the window. And the last thing is doing what I'm doing right now. I started a YouTube channel less than 2 years ago. Because I'm sure in the first ones I started when I was 78, in my 78th year, because one of the things I used to do was say, by the way, I'm 78. Now I have to say, by the way, I'm 79. Anyway, so this is what I'm doing right at the moment, is something that I just, I started at 78 years old. And I don't know, I doubt if I can claim to be the oldest YouTuber on YouTube, but I'm probably among them. And so that, as I say, most of that has nothing to do with anything to do with atheism or religion, my anti-religious stance or any of that. It's just a fact of the way life has happened for me, that I've referred to myself, and other people have referred to me as a late bloomer. Starting a solo career in music, playing in bars when you're in your 70s is probably one of those things too, that I've kind of already mentioned. Okay, so that's more about telling you, anybody that's interested, a little about who I am, and mostly outside of the idea of religion, my atheism, my skepticism, and all of those things. But one of the things about, there's not many things that are good about being old, but at 79, I can get away with certain things that I might not have been able to get away with earlier in life. That may sound a little weird. I'm not trying to get away with stuff, but I can do this video and people understanding the fact that I'm 79 years old, maybe they might give me a little bit of leeway and say, what the heck? He's an old guy, but I mean, I hope what I'm saying generally makes sense and everything. And I am very serious about the idea of promoting atheism and pointing out what I think is wrong with religion and why it's bad for people, bad for our society, and dangerous to individuals. I think I'm just going to leave it at that for today. Okay, that's good. Thank you, honey.